Ever find yourself wondering, like, do all those years of hitting the books actually make us any better at love?
Hmm. Interesting question.
Right. Like, does being a whiz at calculus actually translate to, acing
I
relationships?
like that. Acing relationships.
I had to throw in a little wordplay. But seriously, we're diving deep into this whole education and relationships thing today, right?
Absolutely. We've got some really interesting research lined up. We're talking about how education, decision making, even emotional intelligence all play into this whole love thing.
It's a lot, right? And it gets kind of complicated because, like, what even counts as education when we're talking about love?
Oh, I totally agree. And, one of the sources we looked at highlighted that right away, how do we even define education? It's so much more than just like those years in school or having a degree hanging on the wall.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about, like, my grandma never went to college, but let me tell you, the woman gives the wisest relationship advice. Seriously, better than any relationship guru I've ever read.
I love that. And it totally proves the point, right? It's those lived experiences, the stuff you learned from making mistakes, from watching others, from just living life,
Yeah.
all that factors into education too.
Totally. So we're not just talking about acing those exams, it's bigger than that. But then how does all this broader idea of education actually play into something as, well, messy and complicated as romantic relationships?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's interesting because our sources actually suggest there might be some connection, especially when you look at decision making, like choosing a partner, navigating those inevitable disagreements, figuring out how to build a life together. Those are big decisions.
No kidding. Those are the things they don't quite cover in those rom-coms we love, right? Like, sure, it looks cute on screen, but in real life, that stuff is tough.
Exactly. And what some of this research suggests is that people with higher levels of education, like more formal education, tend to have, generally, stronger decision-making skills overall.
Interesting. So does that mean, like, just having a diploma on your wall magically makes you better at relationships?
Oh, definitely not. It's not about waving your PhD around like some kind of love potion. That's not how it works, unfortunately.
Okay, good to know. So it's not like, it's how you think, maybe, but then what's the connection there? How could those years of learning actually make a difference in someone's love life?
You hit the nail on the head. It's about how education shapes our thinking. Think about it. Education, especially in those more formal settings, it really pushes us to think critically. You're taught to analyze information, to recognize biases, to weigh different perspectives, and those are all skills that become super valuable in the, let's be honest, sometimes messy world of relationships.
I'm totally seeing where you're going with this. So it's like instead of just reacting emotionally, someone with those critical thinking skills might be better at like hitting pause and actually thinking through a situation before responding.
Exactly. Imagine a couple. They're disagreeing about finances,
Right.
right? Which, by the way, is a classic source of relationship tension, money stuff.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Right. But someone with those honed critical thinking skills might be more likely to approach that conversation, even if it's a tough one, calmly. To break the issue down objectively, work collaboratively to find solutions, instead of just letting emotions escalate the whole thing into a huge fight.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. So instead of a shouting match, it's more of a productive conversation.
Exactly. And that can make all the difference. Plus, on top of critical thinking, education often emphasizes communication, expressing yourself clearly, really listening to the other person, knowing how to, disagree respectfully. These are all essential for a healthy relationship, wouldn't you say?
Totally agree. Makes you wonder if all those late night study sessions, like debating philosophy with your roommates, weren't actually a complete waste of time. Maybe there was some useful relationship practice going on there.
Maybe. And there's another piece to this whole puzzle, something we touched on earlier, emotional intelligence.
Okay, so are you saying that my art history degree secretly made me more emotionally intelligent? Because I gotta be honest, I'm not always sure about that.
Okay, maybe not directly, but think about what education exposes us to. You encounter diverse viewpoints, right? You're constantly challenged to question your own assumptions, to see things from different angles, and you're often in situations where you have to navigate, well, complex social dynamics, to say the least. And all of that, that's fertile ground for developing greater empathy and self-awareness, which are like the cornerstones of emotional intelligence.
So it's like accidentally working out your emotional muscles, while you're busy studying for finals and stressing about
In a
deadlines?
way, yeah. And this really resonated with me. One of our sources even shared an anecdote about a couple who directly attributed, at least in part, their relationship success to their shared academic background. They really believe that education equipped them to face challenges more constructively together as a team.
Okay, so we're racking up some points for team education here. It sounds like it can make a real difference. But let's be real, we all know education isn't some magic wand you wave to make all your relationship problems disappear, right?
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
research backs that up. Emotional intelligence, that real-world experience, those things are crucial too. You can
Mhm.
be the smartest person in the room, have a wall full of degrees, but if you haven't developed those emotional smarts, the self-awareness, empathy, communication skills,
You're going to have a tough time when those relationship hurdles inevitably pop up.
exactly.
It's like that old saying, you can't learn everything from a book, or in this case, maybe from a lecture hall.
So true. It's a lifelong journey, learning how to do relationships well.
And that, my friend, leads us to our final thought for you, dear listener. If education isn't the be-all and end-all of happy, successful relationships, what steps can we all take, regardless of our background or education level, to make wiser choices in our own love lives? Something to ponder, right? Until next time, keep those minds and hearts open.